Namaskar. Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host Sree Iyer. What is happening in Canada? What appears to be a systematic crackdown at the illegals as well as the legals, the student body, as well as those who came in, became legal, but they can't find jobs. A lot of things are happening. I'm just going to try and make sense of this. It's really bad because 70,000 students could be deported from Canada in the next few weeks and months, and many of them may be headed back to India. The tragedy here is most of them basically sold whatever landed property they had in India or forced their parents to do it, or the parents willingly did it. Whatever it is, they have come here in search of a good life, but now the rules have been changed and looks like they are no longer needed in Canada. At least that's what it looks like. In fact, I have a feeling that what is happening to Indian origin students here has something to do with the fact that 𝙥𝙤𝙤𝙦 has withdrawn support to Justin Trudeau government. See, the government hasn't collapsed. That's an interesting thing. Why the opposition has not put the Trudeau government on the mat and said, go seek a no confidence motion? I don't know what that has not happened, or why it has not happened yet. So we will find out that also. So what happened? A series of steps happening in various states. See, Canada built is made up of many states: Alberta, British Columbia, Quebec, and so on and so forth. So there is one called Prince Edward Island. This is on the west coast, and this is where the first problem started, or the first requirement or a restriction started. What they did was they announced that they will be no longer giving work permits. See, there is a system in Canada where you once you are done as a student, you need to apply for a work permit, and this work permit is something that is decided based on your ability and your ability to find a job. So there was some benefit of doubt. Most of the people who applied for got this work permit, and then that paved way for a green card in Canada. Now that door has been shut. It's not just Prince Edward Island. I'm hearing many other states are also implementing it systematically. So suddenly the doors are closing. In fact, things are so bad that there was one new restaurant that opened up, and they were asking for waiters and waitresses. 3,000 people queued up. 3,000, and they're all students. That's because the visa situation is getting really bad. So what happened? So you finish your course, you don't have a job, you don't have a future, you're supposed to go back to India, you don't have money. What are you going to do? This is the kind of problem that students are facing in Canada now. As to why things came to this, only the Canadian government can explain. For example, you know that they had this Canadian consulate in Chandigarh, which was issuing visas to all and sundry. I'm still talking about legal. I haven't even come to the illegal portion yet. I'm just talking about legal, the fate of students. I know a lot of the parents now would be concerned as to what is going to happen to their children, what happened. In search of a better life, they came to Canada. Yes, we don't deny that. But now Canada is saying we don't need anymore, because either the economy is tanking or they don't really need more help because there just are not enough jobs. As to why they taught these courses, well, that's something that only they can explain. Listen, anybody who goes abroad these days, you need to do a little bit of research on the subject that you want to study. Just going abroad because that seems like a gateway to a better, prosperous life, that is no longer true. In fact, I've been saying this for 2-3 years. Some of you put some remarks saying that, oh, you made it like a student, now you are preaching don't come. It's not that. It's a supply and demand curve. And all this illegal immigration nonsense is stopping, like a cold water. It's just stopping to a zero now. And the reason, again, in the United States, the reason for that is that there just are not enough places to hold them. You saw what happened in this small town called Springfield in Ohio, where they were saying that Haitian refugees who all have permanent residency, Obama's largest, and they were saying that, they were alleging, of course, they were alleging that these people were actually eating their pets. I mean, there are two stories to this, two sides to the story. People are saying that that happened. Others are saying, no, this is being played up. I mean, it became a point of contention in a debate. So this is how bad things are in US also. Let's just get back to Canada now. What exactly is happening in Canada? Why things came to this? Well, Canada has been giving a path to immigration for a long time, and you could come in, you could study, you could get your postgraduate degree, and then you could apply for a permanent residency. There was a path. I think it took 15 months or 30 months, something like that. But there was a definite path. Now that path looks like that is also being closed. Now, the other thing that is happening is the number of people that can be nominated, that is also being cut down by 25%. So in some states, completely cut. In some states, the amount is being cut by 25%. Also, the intake is also limited now from the next year, that is from the fall season. The number of students that will be coming into Canada, they have drastically reduced that too. So why were there so many students? Because many of the students were paying their own way. So these universities, or some of them at least, were depending on tuitions from foreign students, because foreign students don't pay the full fees. They are not in state, they are out of state, and they pay the full fees. So a lot of things like that were happening. Now I don't know which way the Canadian government is going to go. They certainly needed more hands, and this is just the education related problems. Okay, now I'm going to come to the next one, which is the Labor Market Impact Association. So this one, impact assessment, LMIA. This is another controversial thing, where these are for lower cost workforce. In other words, people who probably came by way of drug trucks or some other way, they made their way all the way to Canada. Let's just say that they came to Honduras, they came to Nicaragua, they came. You saw that one plane that was chartered by Romanian private company from Dubai. It was supposed to go to, I think it was the capital of Nicaragua that they were headed for, and that developed technical difficulties, and they had to force land in France, and that's when they found out that the entire passenger list was illegal. They were all returned back to India, and they were quoting numbers like $150,000 is what they ponied up in order to get this trip. So that stuff, it needs to stop today. I'm telling people, anyone who is going to Canada today having dreams, stop it. Right now, there is just no way you can do anything. I also know the kind of conditions the students live in their campuses. Gone are the days when they used to have two to a room or something like that. Now they have 10 to a room. So 2-bedroom flat with small living room and a kitchen attached, something like that, that goes for about $2,500 to $3,000, and 10 students, sometimes even more, stay there. That is the situation. I mean, what they have in the room is the space that they have to put their bed down and sleep. In fact, the rooms are just there is no furniture at all. You just sit on your bed and study, you work on there, and you sleep there. And also, I'm finding some horrible things like genders are mixed. You draw your own conclusions on what I'm saying. Okay. And houses are not kept clean. 10 people, it becomes a real problem, and only 2 are on the signees as far as signing the lease is concerned. See, the other 8, I don't know why the owner is not asking these questions. These are very close to the campuses, within walking distance, but a lot of problems. This is what I saw in San Jose, and I can imagine how bad things are. Something like this repeats itself in every state campus. So the question that everybody should be asking is, how does one make sense of it? Anyway, and let me come back to the Labor Market Impact Assessment, the LMIA, under which again jobs are given. That also is being reduced drastically. Not only that, you need to go through some paperwork to become sort of legal to be able to even qualify for the lower wage program. And this is where problems are happening. On 8th October in Calgary, Gurudwara Dashmesh, there was one gentleman, his name is Gurseevak Singh, and looks like he has promised some people these permits, and it turned out that he was not a legit operator, and they were starting to threaten him. So I have put all these links in the description section under reference. Go through this, especially if you are a parent. You need to understand what the situation is. There are lots of references available now. Information is changing by the day. I have a feeling that things are coming to a head. Canada is going to kind of collapse a little bit economically, and that would mean that people who have been living there for a long time also will not be able to pay their bills and so on and so forth. So this is probably going to have a ripple effect in other countries too. I'm afraid this is where things seem to be headed. This is a little bit serious, is all I'm trying to say. So at least cut your losses. Don't sell your property for a better tomorrow in Canada, at least not right now. It may change in 5 years' time and things stabilize, and again Canada will realize that they need more hands. It's a huge country, guys. But the problem is Canada can be hospitable only within 50 to 100 miles of the US border. Beyond that, it is too hostile a territory to live. You have that small band of 50 miles to 100 miles along the border of US, and that's all you can inhabit. That's where all these big cities are: Toronto or Montreal or British Columbia, Vancouver, and so on and so forth. Victoria Island, everything beautiful place, but right now they don't seem to have the capacity to absorb new workforce. I think that's what it is. It's got nothing to do with any one particular community being discriminated against. It's just that they just can't absorb it, and we don't know what kind of promises are being doled out, especially in the state of Punjab. I want to tell my Punjabi brethren that please don't even think about anything for the next 6 months to 9 months. Wait for this dust to clear. Some of your children may come back home. Welcome them with open arms. There are many opportunities in India. You need to learn. You learned a lot of professional stuff in Canada. Come back, see how best you can put it to use. You may have to relocate to a city like Mumbai or Bengaluru or Hyderabad, which is where most of the workforce, the high-tech jobs are. But other places are also opening up. So you just need to be open about it. It may take 6 months, it may take a year. Finish your education, get a good degree, come back home. There's a lot of good stuff happening there, and forget about all this political stuff that has kind of filled you between your ears. It's up to nothing. It's not going to help you tomorrow. If you go back to India, talking about this is not going to help. People are not going to understand all these things. First of all, most of it is bunkum. See, this guy, what's his name, Gurseevak Singh, they are saying that he might be connected with the SFJ, Six for Justice, this Pannu outfit. See, again, this may be true, may not be true. But what happened was, when some of his customers who had paid him money confronted him in front of the Gurudwara, he whipped out his pistol. Police had to be called. You will see all that stuff. There is a 3-minute video. You can listen to all that. There are also some interviews about what has been happening overall in terms of how law and order has deteriorated because of the presence of these unruly elements going by Khalistanis. And there's a 13-minute video. Again, watch that. So you're getting hit from both sides. So essentially, the takeaway here is anyone with an Indian antecedents are now being looked at with suspicion. That's not good. Many of us are very hardworking. We have put in our roots in this country. We have put down our heads, worked very hard, and have become successful. But now, for a few bad apples to come and completely rot the basket, that is just not on. This is what I've been, saying again and again and again and again. The moderate voice in the society must speak up. If you don't do that, then this is how things will go. And soon everybody is going to be tarred by the same brush. So this is where things stand today. I wish I was more positive in my PEI is Prince Edward Island, is a maritime province on the east coast. It's east of Quebec. Oh, I'm sorry, I stand corrected. The west coast is Victoria Island. I'm sorry, you are right. So PEI is the one that started it, and there's also some other things happening. Let's just wait and take a breath to just understand that things are not good in Canada right now. Their economy appears to be on the verge of collapse, and this is because I think they have not recovered from COVID. Many countries have really not recovered from COVID. And these are all the ways you're seeing this thing come out. Maybe the frustration came out by alleging that India had something to do with the Niger incident, whatever it is. So right now things are at a point where Canada needs to push the reset button and recalibrate itself, decide what it wants. As to what will happen to the students, well, in US, the way people would do is you get one master's and then you find that there are no opportunities. You find out what is a more current topic and go get another master's in that topic. But for that, you need to still be able to support yourself for 2 years. Will your parents be able to give you the money? Will you be able to work in the campus to get that thing? So these are all questions. I mean, you have to really put yourself through a lot of torture before you decide that, okay, this is what I want to do. My 2 cents is India is doing well as an economy, and there may be some industries that may come up in the next 5-10 years for which the foundation stone is being laid now. Maybe if you come now to India, you may be able to get onto that gravy train quickly, because all these cycles have ups and downs. That I want to touch upon this AI thing that everybody was going gaga over artificial intelligence. Well, it's not as great as it's being made out to be. Nvidia stock has fallen significantly in the last few days. I mean, you can watch the US stock market and you will know that it's fallen significantly. So okay, so this is where things stand, and I want to take some questions now. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them out. Borat. Now that Khalistanis are pulled out from the coalition, this was bound to happen. I have a feeling this was related because Jagmeet Singh probably gave some promises to the Sikh community, and now they are up in arms saying that because of your word, we did all these things. So something is going on, guys. This community is a very hardworking community. It's a proud community, but they've lost their way. That's all I can say. Next one. Bharatam wants to know, postgraduate students in US are doing menial jobs. Some of them leaving good jobs in India, taking huge loans and suffering. Very true, Bharatam. What to do? Somehow there is this bhram, there is this feeling that there are lots of jobs to be had in the United States. In fact, a lot of the jobs that used to be menial are being handled by computer or robots or AI. For example, support calls. Tech support calls now, I rarely get to talk to a human being unless I persist for about 1 hour and I go through the maze of the questions, and finally they say that, okay, this guy is not giving up. Then finally they connect to a voice, and that voice tends to be heavily accented. I haven't been able to place the voice. It's not an Indian voice anymore. So even for call centers, India has become too expensive. It is going to another country that's probably cheaper than that. I'm just telling you, these are the facts of life. So doing menial jobs after getting a degree, what can I say? I mean, you have to make your decision. These days, the technology is moving very, very fast, and it's unfortunate. That's all I can tell you. Arun Patel, thank you so much. Sir, just about around facing deportations around 400,000 students in Canada. What about USA after election surprise? Indian students, same problem. Well, in the United States, the US, lots of Indian students are there. What happens, like I said, is they end up doing double masters and things of that nature. Some of them end up marrying into families who have already put down roots. Like, for example, if you are a green card holder, you marry somebody who's a student. That person, qualifies for getting green card under some process, or maybe you have to be a citizen. I don't remember the law clearly, but essentially those kinds of things are also happening. But downside is, chance of getting a green card today, it is taking 100 years. 100 years. That is the wait time for a green card. This was said not by me, but by Congressman Raja Krishnamurthy when he came on my channel. There's another problem also that Indians are facing. Because of this time taken for green card, supposing they came to US when their children were 10 and 8, okay, and now 8 years have lapsed since then. So the child who turns 18 today, that child cannot live in US anymore, even if their parents have legal status. That child has to go back to India. And they are called documented dreamers. And there are the undocumented dreamers. Undocumented dreamers are those who come illegally from other countries, and when they turn 18, this is where the DACA program was, DACA, which is where this whole fight started. Democrats wanted the DACA students as well as their parents to stay, but nobody said anything about those who came in legally and their children turned 18. What happens to that? So now families are getting split. The mother goes back with the children to India until their status gets stabilized. But when is that going to get stabilized? 100 years? It's a little long, don't you think? And today there are fairly decent jobs available in India. Again, you have to think about what you want to do in life. There are lots of startup ideas, and it's up to India to decide what they want to do. It's up to the individual to choose what kind of profession he or she wants to take up. Certainly, this is now becoming more and more of a mirage. Coming to a foreign country, getting education, settling down there, that part is becoming a bit of a mirage. Next question, please. Arun Patel says, New Zealand changed law last year, keep learning Canada and USA low-level skills. So yeah, so the reason why some of these things were tweaked was they needed low-level skill labor. For example, those who will work in the kitchens, who will be cleaners. I don't want to say so low wage jobs. These were the ones that they had a problem, because everybody has this upward mobility in life. So it's always the lowest level layer that needs to get filled. So that's where things started. But then even there, it looks like there is an oversupply. Just give me 1 second. I have another message I need to look at. My editor Sachin says everybody wants shortcut, and that is true. Everybody wants to take shortcut to riches. That's not going to happen. It's not so easy. Maithili wants to know, what about the US economy? Maithili ji, US economy is in a bit of a gamble right now. Nobody wants to admit that the US economy is having trouble. And if you see, the stock market keeps going up. Some have taken the money out of stock markets and they're just staying in the money because they're convinced that the stock market is going to have a 40% correction. 40%. Today it's 42,000, the Dow. 40% correction would bring it down to 24,000. That is a drastic reduction. And that means 40% of your wealth, if you happen to have it in the stock market, is gone. And that's a huge hit for most of us. It will wipe out life savings for many. Housing has already started dropping. So that's the first indication that things are not going good. In fact, housing was artificially being kept up by two things. One was Chinese money was finding its way into US, and they were buying apartments and good houses with cash down. That was stopped by the Trump government. Then they said that Trump government insisted that any money that buys houses here, you need to show that taxes were paid on that money, which meant that it had to come through the banking system. Then what happened was US banks would not give them the check for cash. Then they started going to Canada. Canadian banks were doing that, and then Canadian banks were giving checks, and using that they were buying a property. Now so when that happened, 2017 or 18, the Trump administration mandated that Canadian banks have to verify and guarantee that this money was not laundered money. So that kind of cooled down the market a bit. First. Second thing, what used to happen was, after the 2008 great recession, it's called, they don't call it depression, it's called Great Recession. Many companies, such as like the, what do you call that thing? I'm trying to remember the name. The big one, which has BlackRock kind of companies, they went and bought up a lot of properties and took them off of the market, so that the market distressed prices, once you take away something that is not selling in the market for 6 months, then somebody thinks that, oh, it got sold. It was not. It was being kept under some trust and hidden, and those houses have to be offloaded at some point of time. The hope was, now this is 16 years since then, they were going to offload it as and when the prices started going up. It went up a little bit, some offloading took place, but it is my contention, I mean, I don't have any proof for this, it's going to break. Suddenly you will start seeing houses completely losing their value. This is true of some of the newer cities and newer developments, not in the established cities. For example, San Francisco or Bay Area, the prices won't fall that much. But if it's a new town that came up 50, 100 miles from here, those kinds of things, like Stockton, for example, was one place, and things like that. I'm not saying Stockton has suffered a real estate loss in value, but things like that, cities where there wasn't really an industry to support the ecosystem, those kinds of cities are the ones that are hurt. Next one, I think this is more of an observation from Akash. Akash says that is why higher education should be based on good grade and should be free for great students, should not be based on money. If you have money, you go foreign and fail drastic. Akash, we can't stereotype this. There are many people who want to come abroad to learn because there are some new subjects. For example, if you think about AI programming, right? Who's doing it in India? The AI chip kits are just being made available now. You need to go and get an NVIDIA development board, or you have to get one of those Raspberry kits and things of that nature. I've seen Raspberry for running Linux and some basic stuff. You can do that for like apps, Internet of Things apps. But those are good markets. But these are all niche markets. For example, if you want to monitor the pesticide control in farms, and you don't want to go to every tree to look at it, but you instead use video cameras and some sort of a way to measure what the pesticide level of content should be put in the water that you are spraying. This sort of stuff can be managed using Internet of Things. But again, like I said, these are all specific niche things. These are all opportunities, though. You can make good money out of it, but you need to know how to make a product, how to make a good product. Nandini Ashok wants to know, any changes in the green card for Indians will change with Kamala Harris becoming president? For all the non-discrimination being told by the Democrats, these are the worst discriminators. There is one senator, I won't name him. This is the guy who basically put his foot down and prevented much of the unused green card quotas from being diverted towards Indians. That is why it's now 100 years. Basically, America doesn't want India anymore, I don't think. Indian Americans to come here and settle down. I'm being very ruthlessly honest here. I feel unwanted. I mean, what I went through in the last few years before I decided to go out on my own, I felt like, this country is pretty ruthless in that way. So to answer your question, Nandini ji, this is not something that's going to change, whether it is Kamala Harris or Trump. It's not going to change. 𝗤𝙗𝘗𝘖 Ratnasabhapati wants to know, over masters or a PhD, isn't it better to spend a little and upgrade your skills and knowledge if you're working in the 𝗤𝙗𝘗𝘗𝘖, the problem today is masters takes you 2 years, PhD takes you 3 minimum, 3 to 5 sometimes, depending on the topic. The problem is technology changes before you master your stuff. Technological cycles are changing every 18 months now. So if somebody starts a education in electrical engineering today, whatever he or she learned is obsolete by the time they graduate. So what do? So what you have to do is you have to learn how to learn new things even when you are not going to a college. You need to be able to go to online education programs. We do a lot of these things. I think 5 years ago, I did one program in Massachusetts Institute of Technology on blockchain. And actually, it was useless. I had done much more work 15 years ago when I had my own patent on blockchain. Anyway, long story short, I wanted to see how the MIT program was. It was a waste of money. My 2 cents. So the name is good. You'll think, oh my God, this is MIT, blah, blah, blah. It will look good on my resume. It was a waste. So things like that you can get from just essentially using your ability to surf Google and learn. So that is how children can learn. Online learning tools are available. Again, there may be some false stuff. There may be some correct stuff. You have to know that judgment you have to get. For that, you need to read a lot, which is why I keep lamenting that we have lost this habit of reading. Because reading, that's a book, right? You can go back and refer again and again. Even in Google, if you are cruising, if you are surfing the net for data, unless you are very disciplined about it and you start bookmarking, those sites that you feel are going to be valuable for you, and you have to create folders, very detailed structure, so that when you go back to look for it 3 months, 6 months down the road, you will be able to instantly remember what it was that you were looking for in the first place. So this discipline that is taught in foreign universities. You learn to be disciplined about your time. You learn those skill sets, but you don't have to hang in here, especially since doors are being closed. And look at all the other problems in campuses that children are facing now, with all these um, wokeness and equality of outcomes and all that nonsense. Karthik Lakshmanan says it's not masters in engineering that is being deported. Indians, especially Punjabis, come to Canada for all of unnecessary PG courses like childcare, with only goal of settling here. It's possible, Karthik. We shouldn't stereotype it. At the same time, I see where you're coming from. So these are all sociology courses that don't really end up paying any useful skill set also. So I don't know. The parents need to ask the hard questions. This thing about my kid will go abroad and become wealthy, that dream is hard now. That is not there. Next one, please. Poonam Abhi says the problem I'm seeing is that out of dislike of India and Hindus, the West is inviting more and more of the non-productives from abroad also to prove their humanitarian. These things are going to stop, Poonamji, very fast. I'll tell you something. These are numbers I've been thinking of mentioning in our hangout, but I've somehow kept slipping. 16,000 illegals from Germany are going back to Turkey. 500 a week. There's a plane that is going like clockwork, taking 500 illegals, dropping them off in Turkey, and coming back and taking the next plane load. This is Germany. Germany and UK were the two countries that were supposed to have the best benefits programs, which is why everybody would cross all the other countries and come and settle down in Germany. And UK was supposed to be even better than Germany, so they would go all the way up to UK, there and cross that English Channel and end up in England. So these things UK will also start clamping down on. In fact, they have passed some laws. They were going to send people to Rwanda. They had an agreement in place, but somehow that's not happening. I have a feeling that Keir Starmer is balking at the number, because they were going to spend 150,000 pounds per person they were deporting to Rwanda. It's like, here, take this person, take this check for $150,000. I don't want to know about it anymore. And they would go to Rwanda, and God only knows what they can do there. Aris wants to say, I love California weather. One can buy a house next to ocean. Aris, the oceanside houses are pretty cold in the evening. Even in summer, the breeze is very, very cold. It's not that fun. I mean, 1 or 2 months in a year, it's okay. Other times, you can look at the ocean, but you'll probably keep your doors and windows closed. And the insurance is going up like leaps and bounds. It's last year, my insurance reset for auto and a house, everything has health. Nothing has changed personally, but these things have gone up by 40% each. Go figure. California is talking it to the insurance companies, taking money from them and feeding it to the illegals. Devendra Raut wants to know, I'm just confused. I'm in CA final. I'm 22. Isn't it easy for me to move to UK, USA, Australia and earn a fortune because the competition is low and I would invest in India when growth is high? Devendra, all the countries are actually investing in India now, because they see for the next 5 to 10 years that India is where the growth is, not in these countries. How have you concluded that you have opportunities, or you can make a fortune in UK, USA, Australia? How do you know that with a degree in India, with a CA in India, you can go abroad and start making money by the bucket loads? First off, you need to qualify for the local certified public accountant. Even after that, then it is like a doctor, opening dispensary. CPA office will be there, but how are you going to attract clients? And you'll only attract clients by charging them lower than what the others are charging. And then where is your question of making a fortune, my friend? Chaitanya Takle wants to know, will peer polyvere change things for better? I don't know, Chaitanya. I think this illegal immigration, drug menace, all these things have to be cracked down, and control has to be brought for that. Because what countries like Canada, USA, UK, many of the Western countries are also suffering. This is China's war against these countries. Is that many of them are getting hooked on some of this meth and fentanyl type of drugs, which basically fries your brain. And that means the next generation youth is going to be drug addled, which means whatever procreation they do, children will be born with birth defects. So it's a very vicious circle. That is where they should be concentrating on: illegal immigration and stopping the drug flow into the North American continent. HR wants to know, do you think de-dollarization will happen? Why students coming to the West to study if de-dollarization will happen in future? De-dollarization essentially means that dollar ceases to be the reference currency across the world, and there are other options available. For the other options to be available, these options have to be reliable, they have to work, and they have to pass the test of supply and demand. For example, Russia was complaining that they were sitting on billions of rupees and didn't know what to do with them when India was buying hand over fist crude from Russia at a discounted price in rupees. So unless Russia has a way to spend those rupees, for example, they could import clothes from India, although clothes in India would have to be made for extra woolen and extra warm clothing, which Indian cotton may not be needed. You need to layer it more, things like that, or make food things that Russia likes. So it takes some time. That's why I have been suggesting that programmers who are looking to change, if you learn Sanskrit and then 6 months of Sanskrit in your spare time in the evenings, another 6 months learning Russian. If you're good at computer programming skills, there are lots of jobs available, not just in Russia, but also in countries like UAE, where the lifestyle is much better than compared to, say, India. Prasanna, oh my God, a lot of questions coming still. Prasanna Venkatesh wants to know, sir, please guide our students regarding patents. How to improve our skill, and I'm a chartered accountant, in what manner we professionals can use AI. AI is now being used to try and match up what, let's say you have to draft a letter for something, right? You can use AI to train that, so that instead of you writing every word in the letter, it gives you a fairly 80 to 90% complete letter. Then you just need to use a few words here and there to apply your personal touch and send that letter. So this correspondence AI will save you time. Google helps you do that now. Many tools, ChatGPT will help you with that. So things of that nature. So that is one thing. Can we go back to the previous question, please? Now, regarding patents, Prasanna, patents come only when you work in a product. And it takes a few years before you start realizing the uniqueness of what you are working on. If you're working on improving a product, you will not find a lot of opportunities to patent. But when you are part of a group that decides to do some new technology and you all jump in there, that's when the patents can mushroom 30, 40, 50 at a time. You have to work hard, get noticed, and make sure that you navigate yourself to that group that is indulging in the cutting edge technology. Once you go there, then the chances of getting a patent are very good. And I think there are some restrictions. You need to be able to contribute 2 or 3 new ideas to an existing patent. So if the patent has 10 people's names in it, if you want to be included in that, you need to be able to provide 2 or 3 unique applications of that patent that would convince the overall patent attorney, yes, this person has contributed this way, this person has contributed this way. But you can't just like that put a name just because you happen to be a member of a group. There are lots of restrictions like that. But essentially, you have to excel at what you do, get noticed. That's the path to getting patents. Next one, please. Full Metal Heart, thank you so much. I see many Indians, once they go abroad, start criticizing India. It's your generic home. When another country won't find use for you, they will kick you. Well, that is true. It's a supply and demand thing. I agree. And see, India is a step back. If you lived in another country for 3-4 years, you're used to a certain amount of automation, certain amount of order, and when you come to India, it looks a little haphazard. But that has changed a lot, especially in the last 10 years after Modi and Gadkari has laid down so many roads and things like that. Mobility has become unbelievable. Believe it or not, viewers, I travel 3 to 4 times a year to India, and once I land in my pad, I am up and running within 10 minutes. Can you believe that? 10 minutes. My internet starts working from the get-go, and I have my lighting and all set up. Just 10 minutes, and I'm up and running. It used to take days before I could do anything in India before. So India, to a large extent, has caught up with the West. In fact, in some places, it is even going ahead of the West. Satellite technology, for example. So it's good that these are things happening here, and I think that more and more 6.5 minutes, not 10 minutes. Sometimes I've had a couple of instances where I literally ran into the house and went online within like 30 seconds because I was running some errands and got delayed. So Sachinji is pulling my leg. Raj wants to know, how come this migration vis-a-vis flat world philosophy changed so soon? Political only or economy too? Raj, this has been there for 20 years now. So what happens is, I'll tell you the cruel reality, okay? Discrimination happens not just on your skin color, it happens on many other things. If you take, for example, what you call as this Magnificent Seven companies now. Magnificent Seven, they are called. Mac 7. Apple, Google, Twitter. I don't know if Twitter is there or not. Apple, Google, Microsoft, Tesla. What's the other thing? You get the idea. Facebook, which is now called Meta. So all these companies, they will only hire the best of the best from every university campus. That means 1 or 2 students graduating from a 300 student body of a particular university. Like for example, if you take a college like the UCLA system or UC Berkeley system, you'll have 400 computer science engineers graduating every fall. Of them, they pick 1 or 2. So imagine how good those engineers have to be able to get jobs there. What happens to the rest? So this thing starts, and these are the best schools. If your school is not in the top 10, if it's in the top 20 or top 30, good luck. So this is how bad things are. So not many industries have grown to take up the number of graduates that are coming in. And these are American born students. These are not immigrants. These are not on an H1 visa. So most of the time, what is happening now is companies such as Google, I think I can say this safely for most of the Fortune 500 companies. They have permanent headcount and they have a temporary headcount. The temporary headcount tends to be more than the permanent headcount. The temporary headcount will be doing the same work as the permanent headcount, but they'll be doing it at much less overhead to the company. What are things like that? They will not be getting stock options. Their insurance will be a little bit less than the permanent employee. Everywhere there is a two-tiered system, and they are easy to let go. So last 20 years I've seen this. So this consulting group people are forced to just keep being consultants for lives. And the California government has passed a law that, if you quack like a duck and walk like a duck, then you should be considered as a duck. Meaning, like, if you work for 40 hours and you are doing much of the work of a permanent employee, you should be treated like a permanent employee. But then there are some loopholes, and the loopholes are being exploited. For example, you could be a consultant working for Google. I'm not saying casting persons on Google. Please don't get me wrong. If XYZ, let's not say Google, XYZ company. You are a consultant working 40 hours a week, which means full-time employment in XYZ. Now, if the XYZ person to whom you are reporting does not evaluate your work, in other words, does not say that this person's last year output was this, he doesn't do your assessment for promotions or for a raise, right? Then it's okay. That person can work 40 hours a week and they will still be considered as full-time consulting only. So these are the kind of loopholes that XYZ companies are exploiting today. And unless all these consultants gang together and move the courts and point out the obviousness and stupidity of this loophole, things won't change. Next one, please. 𝗣𝗚𝘗𝘆 Is it Prashant? I hope so. Everyone wants to go abroad to show off back in India. It doesn't matter if they are incompetent. Well, if you have the money and you can afford to do that, I think that's fine. It all comes down to that. Ajay Jotwani wants to know, are European countries like Luxembourg, Germany, etc. better than studying in USA or Canada now? Luxembourg or Germany, you need to also learn the local language. It's difficult to learn things because the medium of instruction also is not going to be in English. How are you going to cross that? Even, in fact, I'll tell you another thing. In Canada, in Montreal, that is, the province's name is Quebec, Quebec. It's French. The main language is French. And if you want to study in their engineering colleges, you need to first learn French. They teach you French for about 6 months or something, and only then you can start enrolling to the courses. Otherwise, you will fail the exam. Do you want to put yourself through that kind of a pressure on top of everything else? Think about it. Next one, please. Okay, I think that's all we have. Or are there any more questions? Do I answer all the questions? Yeah, I think I've answered all the questions. That's all we have for now. Thank you so much. I didn't think it would take me 45 minutes, but somehow time flew. I hope you found it interesting. Please, children, take a deep breath, talk to your parents, look on the web, find out if it's worth going abroad. You may be better off using that money to do something at home. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to click on the bell button for notifications. Namaskar.